Painted. Yeah, what kind of? Hey, everybody, welcome to Epic Time. This is another day at the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. I got to share this, of course, so we're going to get it going here. That's how it works. You got to, Facebook doesn't want you to post directly to groups, so you have to go in and click a bunch of buttons and send it to a group, which makes, little to no sense to me, but it's all good. It is what it is. So it gives people a chance to get on as well when I take the time to share to some groups, and it's putting the message out to more. So I'm happy to do it and happy to put it on. Some of them are people getting it in multiple places. Other people are, just seeing it for the first time. And we are good to go. So this has been a crazy busy day for one, and a lot has happened in the last 24 hours. People are making checkpoints, and they're making the final checkpoint, and they're turning and burning for home. So I'm going to check my comments, make sure everything's good. I changed my microphone system, so if there is a problem and you can't hear, chime in, let me know. All right, we can't hear you, and nobody wants to look at my mug without hearing my ramblings as well. So as you see, it's pretty busy here. The rally is got a lot of people banging around, as you can see. So it's pretty just constant traffic here. As soon as I start to show, people kind of veer away from my motorcycle a little bit, which is funny. And when I'm not doing the show or not talking into a microphone, people come over like crazy. And I was scrambling to get everything done because I was a cool kid this morning, and somebody came over and said, "Hey, I got somebody that like to meet you." So I went over, and it was Billy Lane, the famed bike builder from Biker Build Off back in the day on the Discovery Channel. So I thought that was pretty cool. He had saw the banner that's right to my left on the back side of the ride I did, and of course he was checking out my Denali lights and all things like that. He works with Denali as well, has his lights on. So I got to meet him, got to hear a little bit about his story, how long he's been making bikes, and that was pretty cool. And then I got back to doing my thing, and he came over and asked if I'd do a favor and go over and film an install video they're doing. So that was more chance to talk about Mile Monsters, and I don't pass up a chance to talk about Mile Monsters, even if I'm doing Snapshot's job and getting the footage like that. So that was kind of cool, but it gave me a chance to talk to him, tell everybody really over there at Denali and the Kraus booth that, what we're about and why we do the epic rides that we do. So that was kind of fun. But for a brief moment, I was hanging with the incredibly famous motorcycle people. So, and he's got it really chill. He wears a hat, just walks around here. You'd never know who he is. It just tells you never know who you're talking to. Because I laughed as I'm sitting at a really cool bike over there, and we're getting ready to do this filming of this light install. And these people are coming up talking bikes to random people, and standing right next to them is Billy Lane. And they have no idea. The guy could answer questions about anything about bikes and fabricating and making and how you can, put angles and rakes on things and how you test if they're going to break. And so it was kind of cool to get an insight and how his brain works. And he's really seems like he's an artist. He's an artist that works with motorcycles, but he can look at a frame and picture a completed motorcycle, and like an artist would look at a mural and have the ending in sight. So it was pretty fun. So that was my time. We'll get to what everybody wants to hear about, and that is the Hoka Motorcycle Challenge. There's been a few mishaps in this along the way. I woke up this morning. I didn't wake up, but when I got rolling, I got contacted about multiple dings that have happened recently. Smokey and the Bandit, and he tries talking to her, and she's not answering. I mean, my heart would just drop. So, I asked him, like, how'd you deal with that? He whipped around and went back, and then he sees the lights flashing. Because when you tip a Harley over, the hazards go on. So you tip them over, it tells the motorcycle knows it's fallen over. So if your bike falls over, the security system, if you have that working, flashes the lights. It knows there's a problem. It knows it's tipped over. It shuts the bike off, which eliminates it keep pumping gas. So if there's a problem and it's on its side, to eliminate the chance of having a fire during a crash. So all that technology is really nice, but it also makes it we can't start the bike right away. You got to do some things. And when she got it out of he got up there, he couldn't reach her. But then he quickly, found that she was okay. And what happened was when she went down, she had the cord hooked to her Santa charger, it ripped it off the helmet. So she was good. And, they were able to get it out. And now they have a story to tell about how they did that. And some help from some hillbillies that came down and helped them out. So that was pretty cool. And that's really the story of a challenge like this, is things you overcome. And I said it to all the monster riders as we went into this. Your goal is to arrive alive, and you really have to, have everything go your way. Luck, skill, prep, everything. And then when you do all those things, one thing doesn't go your way. One mistake on your end, one mistake on somebody else's end, one thing just doesn't go, and you find yourself in the ditch. And when you find yourself in the ditch, you're at the mercy of, of life, that you don't hit an oak tree when you go in the ditch, that you hit grass, you hit a swamp, whatever the case is. And sometimes it's just pure luck of what you hit when you go into the ditch. And in a millisecond, in a ride like this, 11,000 miles, there are thousands and thousands of corners. And for you to not make one corner is all it takes to ruin your day. And like we talked about before, there's sucky times and then there's oh shit times. And you gotta keep the times to the suck, embrace that, make it work, and not let it get to the shit. And sometimes, even when you do everything right, you can't help that. And, it just happens. And it also happened to my good friend, Thule. And everybody's going to see this bike is stopped here. I talked to Thule this morning, and she had a little mishap as well. The people she was riding with, had to hit the brakes, which I've seen too many times, and they had to hit the brakes because she ended up having a collision with her brother. So if you remember, we have mom and sister and brother rolling down the road together, and they ran into each other. It caused Dooley to lose control of her bike, and her bike tumbled into the ditch, and she's okay. She's got bumps, bruises, and kind of banged up, but she's okay. And that's the big thing. It just made me super sad because I know the emotions of that happening. I know the emotions of things going so good, and you can see the finish line in sight. And, in her case, she's there with her mom. And then all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, everything changes. In 1 second of time, two bikes touch each other, and when they touch each other, there's instantly a problem. And that problem, I'm really happy that she was fortunate enough that it was just a bike and bruises. Bruises heal, bikes get replaced. I don't get too riled up about that, in the grand scheme of things. But the emotion of that happening on day 10, day 11, 12, whatever that comes, you've had so much invested in this ride. So much that you put in. Prep time. A year, 2 years leading up to this ride, you're putting your heart and soul into it. And then you go out and you're pouring everything you got into this ride. And in a blink of an eye, it's over. It's done. You're done. And you're happy to be alive. But even when you're happy to be alive, it just is so crushing to the soul that you can't go on. You can't finish it. You're just done. And the emotions of all that flood your body with such disappointment and such overwhelming suck. It's just crazy. Should have had that on sooner so we could get a chuckle out of people who can't get a motorcycle rolling. But anyhow, so I felt really bad for Thule. So Thule, if you happen to be catching this, I know you're okay. I'll call you when I'm done with this show, and then we'll be good to go. But I just feel bad. I feel bad for you, and I want you to know that we're thinking about you. I know the emotional ass whooping that you just took and how you feel, and I wish I could click my heels together and appear in the UP of Michigan and give you a big old hug and throw your stuff in my bike. Selena Thule had a little mishap, and her brother touched bikes, and it didn't end so well for Thule and her bike. But she's okay, but the bike is not. And another one we had an incident was a very good friend of mine as well, Gritty. And Gritty Bell had an accident, but her bike is moving. So I don't know if they're moving that bike somewhere, but she had a little mishap too, but we'll get into that later. But the bike's moving, so that's good. I don't know if I'm going to check my text here to make sure I'm not missing out on any conversation. Nope. Yeah, she had a mishap, and she said thank you. We'll get the details on that, but the bike's moving, so we'll find out all about that later or when she posts something. But I'm glad to see that they're moving some things around. But let's check in with the leaders as well. But that's just kind of updating you on some monsters that had mishap. Another monster I haven't talked to. I was going to text him, but I was busy this morning. I see Walter, who rides a Pan Am, and he's been here for a hot minute. And whatever is wrong with this Pan Am, whenever I see somebody not at a checkpoint and they're at a Harley Davidson dealership, what that is. That's a problem with the bike. He is at Appleton Harley Davidson. That is not a checkpoint. That's not right on the road. And, so he got the bike there and he's getting something fixed. So let's bang over to the leaders. Everybody's been following Yost and his incredible ride. How he's been cranking along. And he is right here. I didn't catch him this morning going through my hood, but he's in Harrisburg, coming into Harrisburg, and that is the home of Drew, one of our heroes, one of our boys that has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, lives right here. So I don't know exactly where Drew is, but he is very close to his house. Drew is somewhere right in this neighborhood over here, I think. Hard for me to get it, but he lives right around here somewhere. And so they're coming pretty close to his house. There's Yost. All the roads lead right to Drew's house, but not how he's going. The interstate's right there, but he's taking all kinds of crazy roads and crazy detours and everything else. But this is the time of the ride that these riders start to suck, for lack of a better word. Things they did so smooth and so fast before, all of a sudden aren't so smooth, aren't so fast. The directions aren't coming to your brain as quick, because 10 days of riding, if you're getting 3 hours of sleep a night, after 9 days, you got 27 hours of sleep since this started. Some people sleep 8 hours a night. So in 9 nights, they got what they get in 3 or 4. So the body's starting to pay the price for that. And the mind and the body and the bike are all tired after, 9-10 days. And you're going to see, where people just have to stop. As I'm talking about it, his bike stopped. The red light came on. That means he's looking at directions. He's getting something to eat. He's getting some gas. He's fueling up. But you'll see more stops from these riders all over. Gas stops will be longer, and it's grueling. It's an ass-whooping experience to do this for 9, 10, 11, 12 days. And a lot of people have never experienced anything like this. And they're riding right now, and this might be the first time that he, any of these riders have pushed this hard for this long. I could look at the numbers and see when they started their first Hoka. 1113. I know that's a 2024. 2024, if you're comparing 24 and 26, you are madly mistaken. And they are not the same rides. So if you came into this thinking, oh yeah, I did 24 or I watched 24, that's cakewalk, I can do that. Right about now, you're questioning your prep, your decisions, and if you were, mentally and physically ready to go. And a lot of these other riders are learning it the hard way. But, they're cranking along. And one more thing on Yost here, he's all the way down in PA. We know where he's got to go. He's got to go through 10,000 more corners before he gets up into some flat farmland of Indiana heading back towards Illinois. So, he is not out of the woods at all, but he's doing a kick-ass job. And, it's fun to watch him keep rolling, and a young guy giving it his all, doing everything he can to showcase his skills. It's pretty awesome. And Pee-wee, English, we got Mick, and who else is here with him? Hate that you can't see these when they're so tight. Oh, Chrisman. What am I thinking? I knew that. So Chrisman's there again, just never fails. He's always in the top 5 to 10 people all the time. He just is an inspiration, to be honest. Like, if you watch anyone's rides, you go back and look year to year, check out Chrisman's rides. He's awesome. How you folks doing? Up yourself to a bracelet, all kinds of things. There's some good ones. Let's check out the other group here. There is Ren, Roadrunner, Dash. Aaron Lee is not in that group. Let's see. We got Dirty Dan. There is Brian Kern. Brian lost his wild ass. They don't stock him at the dealership they went to, so we overnighted him one. Paid a fortune and didn't make it there in time. So we're hoping that if anybody's around Memphis area that can pick that up and meet him, we know what road he's heading down. It's not rocket science to figure that much out because there's already people ahead of him going that way. Here's Nancy right here. She's down in Jackson. I'm familiar with this area. My boys live down there, and my future daughter-in-law live in Mississippi. So we go around right up here, Starkville, the Stark Vegas, as it's called. But here's Sturgis right here, and there is another Sturgis motorcycle rally that takes place in Sturgis, Mississippi, and it is next weekend, the weekend or 2 weekends. So it's a weekend after the Hoka, and what's really cool is they're doing a bike charity. They have a Sturgis event there every year. It's actually a really big event too, but they do a run and they have a charity every year. And this year they're doing it for Mile Monsters. So I think that's pretty badass. So if anybody's in the Sturgis area, the 23rd, 24th, go hit it up. Hit it up and do that. But there's Nancy Webb. Like I say, if you're new to this, you haven't seen anything, she rides a ton, man. To start this ride out, she was in the 80,000s, 83, I think. So what she put on so far, 8,000. So she's going to be at over 90,000 miles on her motorcycle since the first of the year. I mean, if anybody wants to question if she's a rider or not, tap on her odometer and see. And what really makes her a special rider too is her ability to deal with the suck. If you watch her, you follow her, motorcycles break down, you get flat tires, things break, especially when you're putting on 100,000 miles in a year. Things go wrong. Nancy is exceptionally well at solving those problems, and that's part of the Hoka Challenge. Things don't go your way. There's a lot of suck, and she is very good at managing the suck. And, and she's definitely managing the route, the sleep, and everything else because, if you don't know her, you take her out of the equation. Never heard of Nancy Webb. All right, well, people have heard of Dirty Dan. People have heard of Brian Kern. Let's see, Ren, I think Classic Rider, but Roadrunner's new. I know these people because they ride for Mile Monsters, and I've had the privilege of riding with them. Dash, Brian Ridgway, all riders. These are all riders right here in that whole area. They all ride for Mile Monsters, so I'm familiar with it. But if you're not, they are all beast riders. Dirty Dan won the Hoka-Hey in 2024. He went through a hurricane on a Pan Am, went to the top of Alaska, was able to overcome time challenges when he was way behind, and he got ahead and he stayed ahead and he held on and he didn't make any mistakes hitting some of the corners. And it only takes a mistake and you're done. And he managed to not hit those mistakes and run a run that keeps you safe. So you know he can ride. So when I look at somebody like Nancy, who's new to the challenge maybe of this level of riding, you know, she may be quiet and maybe a cute little girl that kind of stands back and is not gonna, you know, stand on a box screaming, "This is me," but she's no joke of a rider. She has the experience of the Hoka-Hey under her belt, and now she has the experience of mad hardcore riding under her belt as well. So it's really cool. So that's fun. So yeah, and Selena met Yost today, and he is tired. He should be tired. Everybody out here is tired. Some of them just don't get highlighted so you can see it. But if you're not tired, not trying hard enough, is this just summer tour, then you're not going to be tired. And he's nice, and his accent is awesome. He's Cuban. He's got great English, but he definitely has an accent. And I don't know, maybe when he's tired, you can't understand him. No, he just makes sound like marble mouth because he's so exhausted. But, you know, this is something that I really wanted to hit on too. The weather in Illinois, like this whole area right here, is just everything you see right here. These people are getting an ass whooped. Pull up the Weather Channel, look at some nasty storms coming through, and then understand these people are riding after 10 days of riding. They're giving it their all, and they're having to deal with that weather. I mean, riding through nasty weather when you're on technical roads is pretty tough to begin with. And now you add, you know, thunderstorms, hail, you know, I don't think they got any tornadoes coming, but, you know, it's the winds like it. So it's not their first day, and it's very hard. So that's pretty cool. But I did want to show you a couple videos I have ready here. The first one, if you're familiar with Mile Monsters Inc., you know that we're giving away a motorcycle. And we're giving away that motorcycle, and every day, you know, we leave it out at our booth. And I noticed the mileage was adding up, so I set up a hidden camera today so we could take a look and see what was going on. So here's the video of that. Let me start from the beginning here, and you can check it out. Every morning I suspect somebody riding the motorcycle, so we're setting up to see if we can catch them today. I knew it. I knew somebody was riding the bike every day. I noticed there was an extra quarter mile on our new bike, babe. The wild ass mile. 5 days.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we'll get her.
And right about then, he was worried he was going to tip it. So I stopped the camera. I stopped the camera just to make sure he didn't dump the bike. So that was kind of funny. But we have a good laugh. We're right next door to Wild Ass. I'll show you their camera, their booth quick so you can see everybody and say hi. I don't know if Craig is free. He's always ringing somebody up. He's always busy with something, but we're gonna check it out all the same. Let me get the right camera. It'll be good. Oh, all right. Here's Wild Ass. I love it because there's like a break in the action. So let's see. There we go. There's their booth. Look how nice that looks. Their display looks nice. Oh, Craig does have a minute, so let him come over. Craig, we got his booth up. There he is over there. He's trying to pretend, but they got a minute. And I tell you what, sometimes there'll be 6 people deep in this zoo of chaos as they come in. So it all depends. But Craig had some stuff we want to talk about anyhow, so I thought I'll interrupt his little lunchtime.
Do I get a chair?
Sure, pull up a chair. I don't care about how you sit, stand, whatever, as long as you can, as long as they can hear you.
I might want to sit.
Yeah, I think it working. If anybody can't hear Craig when he's talking, hit it in the comments. But I want to welcome Wild Ass Craig. If you're not familiar with Wild Ass Craig, this is the founder and the owner of Wild Ass Cushions. We got all kinds of bigwigs coming up. All of a sudden, they paused. They're like, "Oh shit!" Due to the Mohawks talking, we're not gonna come in.
Like the national sales manager for Drake Specialties. These two guys are parts unlimited buyers, things like that. So
I love it because I can switch the camera so you can see them, but
you're gonna go on camera.
It's fun because I like when you're dealing with motorcycle parts and motorcycle people that you deal with people that are bikers. You got the guy from Drake Specialty. It's up in the corner there. But they're here from Drake Specialty, Parts Unlimited. This is who supplies all of us bikers with their stuff. And I hate when people walk up and they want to talk to you about what you need on your bike, but they're wearing a suit and tie, talking like a nerd. I don't understand nerd talk. I understand biker talk. So
not a lot of nerd talk.
Yeah, he don't look like. I think he left the nerd talk in 3rd grade. That was the last time. He's got a great hairdo that I'm after, but the wife won't let me have that yet. So. That's all good. But Craig, I just want to have Craig in here for a second because Craig did a bike night, and you could tell us about your bike night and how that went.
Absolutely. So before these guys, when they're standing here in the picture, when you guys go around the country and you buy Wild Ass in the dealerships, in your Harley dealerships, they all get it from these guys. So that's kind of the chain of Wild Ass life. It comes from me, goes to them, and then goes to the dealership, and then to you.
That's
Unless
awesome.
You know me personally, then we just get it direct. That's even better for me.
Yeah.
But anyways, to talk about bike night, we had a little bike night up in Brainerd where we're at, the world headquarters. I called it Minnesota Monster Bike Night, and evidently you only have us and Mandy and Chad, and then who else was there? It was Renee and I, of course, and then the new monsters doing Craig's Challenge. They were there, so I was hoping for a better turnout. But what we really got, I got a hold of the microphone, which was a bad idea because I kept everybody there for a little longer than they wanted to be. But I got to talk about Mile Monsters, the boys, all the things they did. So we really ended up getting some good exposure at that bike night, which is why we do them, right?
Exactly. The awareness is so key. Like you raise some money, but the awareness goes to the next level and the next level, the next level, and then it's just a domino effect.
So the awareness was great. All the people there, it was their largest bike night that they'd had in years. We did, of course, a lot of promoting leading up to the event on our Facebook. They did their social media stuff. We helped them with that. But we did some raffles and had some prizes, and we raised some money. That's also another goal of bike night, is to get some funds coming in for the boys that we all support. So it turned out pretty well. They've already invited me back for next year to do another
awesome.
one. So I hope bike nights continue.
Yes, they're going to continue. We're gonna have that be a prime thing next year.
The restaurant we were at was Be Merry, just north of Brainerd. I think it's County Road 3. I can't remember. 3 and 4 go the same way, and I don't know which one starts and ends where. But
we'll say
just
3.
north of Brainerd. The restaurant had like a bike night special that they put up, and they were going to donate part of the proceeds for that to the Mile Monsters. I think they were going to donate $1 for every special ordered. What happened is everybody just wanted real food. So the special didn't really work out so well. They didn't know. This was the first time for them. So they said, you know what, we're just going to give you a little extra money. So they gave us $100 from the bar. The owners were there. They thought it was pretty cool. They threw in an extra $100. So in cash that night, we did raffle tickets and gave away a bunch of cool stuff. I don't know if you want me to read these numbers to you, but
sure.
That night we did $1,014 in cash, and we got a check from the restaurant for $100. And then the next day, a guy came by the world headquarters of Wild Ass, gave us another $100 bill. And that was a total for in here. There is a check in here from Be Merry, and then there's a check. I called Riot, and I'm like, hey, what am I supposed to do with all this cash that I just collected? He said, put it in a check. And I said, perfect, then I'll mail it to you. And he said, well, just give it to me in Sturgis. So here we are. So there's $1,114 from us. There's $100 from the restaurant. And then the Give Butter, I think, was another $355.
Yeah, that's awesome. So show up and getting money from the bike nights, and we got a lot to celebrate about that after we're done with the Hokahay, and we'll get caught up on, the celebration of all things that, and get some winners from it and that kind of thing. But I do want to thank you, man. It's awesome to have support of friends and friends that became friends because they have cool shit that I needed to keep my Hoka time from sucking. And I talk about it here all day. There's all kinds of riders that are walking by and they're like, oh, I don't know if I need this or not. And I'm like looking at this thing right here and the screen, and I'm like thinking how many riders have that. And I'm like, I'll tell you right now, whoever doesn't has a sore ass. And poor Brian Kern lost his wild ass. So I literally, yeah, Craig, this is news of Craig because we made some executive decisions before he had a chance to discuss it. So he lost his wild ass. I literally walked over to the shelf right there, took a wild ass off the shelf, brought it to the UPS and overnighted it to him. And so that all costs a lot to overnight, but I'm like, I know what it's like not to have a wild ass, how much it sucks. It missed them. It didn't get there in time leaving out of here. Everything's delayed, but it missed them at the dealership. So now when it gets there, we're going to try to relay it to him and get it to him somehow. But that's what's nice about having friends in the industry. I'm like, I'm taking that off the shelf, and we're going to figure that out later. So now is the later. We'll talk about that after the show.
All right. Well, that's news to me, and we always work it out. But anyways, It was a pleasure to do bike night. It's always an honor to support Mile Monsters. I'm guessing this is a money conversation I need to go and have.
Yeah, so he's got to work.
I'm going to get out here, and I'm going to get to work. So you guys stay tuned to the Hoka Hey. I'm really glad you're keeping everybody up to date because those of us watching half-assed.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and it's busy time, but I'll show you why he's got to go because all of a sudden it gets really busy over there. So it's fun to have it. But back to the screen, I'll leave the wild ass up because he's got to roll. They're talking about getting people paid and collecting money, and it's just nonstop over there. So that's that. But it was pretty awesome. I hope we can relay it to Brian when it gets to the dealership. Whenever that is, it's going to be in South Haven here, and we know they're coming down this route. I mean, there's anybody can figure this out. There's Dirty Dan and there's Nancy, so they're coming right through here. So hopefully it gets there in time that we can go right here or get it relayed or whatever. Either that or I'll get it back and we'll put it back in the stock and we'll eat the money it took to overnight it. But that's a chance we got to take, and that's how family works. Got to help people out, and we're hoping it works. But back to the ride here. Roadrunner and Teeter are together. There you go. If you're a fan of Teeter, he's right here. Erica, if you're watching, they're in a beautiful part of the country, super nice, and they're in an area that Teeter knows like the back of his hand. He lives in Mississippi. I almost said from Mississippi, but he's not from Mississippi. He's from up north of me. But anyhow, he rides like crazy all through here. So, he's in a part that I'm confident he's going to do very well in, stay safe in, and have a great time. So to his wife and family, you can just relax and enjoy watching him track. Same with Roadrunner. Roadrunner rides all through here as well. He's from Tennessee, and he's going to be doing just fine. All these riders back here are killing it. We got Raindrop, and I'm really happy to see that some of them are smart and taking the time to get the rest they need, not trying to push it because they're all concerned about getting to the finish line. I want to check Frosty before I put a video up. Because Frosty and Value and One Shot now are all riding together. And they stayed together last night, wherever they stayed. I don't even know, but it's a fun watching their story pan out. They're cruising along, beautiful country there. There's Eric right there. I see so many monsters here. Pat, Ronimo, got Dash down here, Frosty, Value. So there's a lot of riders. There's Big Balls Matt right here, doing an extra lap and still killing it. But I want to pop a video up that Chase sent me. I got to be honest with you, I have not even watched it. It came right before the show. I got to convert it, and it was all I could do. But here's a video of Frosty and Value when they were coming into the checkpoint, I believe. So it's kind of fun. That's good. Sat there over there. Damn, that's a sick video snapshot. I can't believe how fast that drone can haul ass. That is really, really cool. So that was fun to see. Like I said, that was my first time. That was my first time watching that, and so it's fun to see that. Look at all the commotion going on at Wild Ass Spook. I mean, that's what it's been like. That's how popular that is. But here we got our own Taco, Rob, and they're with Hippie. So these are two monsters who are riding for Mile Monsters, and three friends of mine. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, for me, it's emotional to watch this, you know, and emotional when I hear my friends had problems on the road and I hear somebody went down, whatever the case is. It's sorry, I got to get that back to the screen. But they're in there, and it's like just fun to watch, you know, and watch these Mile Monsters doing a great job. It's Rob's very first one. He was nervous about it, as well he should be. And, you know, they're doing great. And then, you know, catch up to Hippie. Like I say, these three are friends of mine, and it's really fun to see everybody doing so well and becoming a team to get themselves to the finish line. Because at this point of the game, they're not concerned with placement. They're trying to get to the finish line, and what started out as in your mind, maybe you thought of somebody as a competitor. Now you've been through hell and back with these people, and these are your brothers and sisters in arms, so to speak. You know, where they are really, really only concerned with the health, safety, and getting themselves and their brothers and sisters across the finish line. That's all they're after. Anybody had dreams of in it to win it, in it to be top 10, 20, whatever it is, nobody cares at this point. I can guarantee you that. They only want to cross the finish line and do the best job they can, of course. But what they had in mind leading into this is not what they have in mind right now. They are one team, one unit trying to, you know, roll to the end, because they realize now what a battle it is. And it's not a fight against any other rider. It is a fight against Mother Nature and yourself. You are your worst enemy and your best friend on this road. And you're going to have fights and high fives with yourself. And it's just crazy how that works. I don't know what happened to Snowden. All I know is he is out. So I have nothing to say about. I can't say anything about that, so I really don't know. But his tracker's turned off, and I didn't read a lot about things this morning because I was busy playing with the famous for a few minutes, few hours, whatever it was. But, you know, that's really it. These are the days that they're going to be at their lowest points. You know, your lowest point is going to come, you know, right now. So if you have friends and family, you know, coworkers, you know, siblings, whoever's on this ride that you know, reach out and don't expect them to answer you. Don't think that they're going to answer you, but they might glance. They get some text. They might get gas. They might scroll through. You know, keep it short. You know, they don't write any of these riders a story. Don't write them a book. If you're going to talk forever, then put it in a format of you know, like the voice to text thing, or not voice to text, but a regular voice note. Send that to them. But if you're going to send a long message, you think you're really doing them a favor, you're not, because they don't have time to look at that, even at a gas station. But they do want the messages. So send them, you're doing great. I love you, man. I can't believe how awesome it is. You know, that kind of thing. So, you know, do that. Send them a message. I'm telling you, here's Thule right here. So she's on the show. Thule, you're watching this. You know, I'll send you a message. I love you. Sorry that happened. I know the crushing blow that is to you and how emotional it is. So, you know, I'm giving you a hug from here, and, you know, I'd give you a great big old biker hug, you know, with some power behind it if I was there. And as soon as I see you, I will kiss your beautiful face and give you a big hug. So I'm saddened what happened, but I'm super happy that you're here right now, you know, watching it and letting us say, you know, some words of hello to you. So, you know, nothing more I can say other than I'm sorry. But that goes for all these riders. You know, everybody is one corner away from something not going their way and entering oh shit instead of having a sucky time. And that's what the Hokahei is all about. That's why when they say it is a good day to die, that doesn't mean like, hey, let's go die today. What it means is today should be as good a day to die as any other day. Meaning you tell everybody you love them, you hug them, anything, you don't leave something unsaid. You have an argument with your husband, your wife, whatever, like you put that, somewhere else. And you get that taken care of and, because you never know. In some, these riders are facing crazy obstacles. They're so far from out of the woods. Just pick anybody at all. You're standing right here. I'm just zooming in and picking anybody. That's a lot of corners on the road. I mean, this is a great road to ride, but after 10 days, this is very tough. And that's why these riders are dropping out, because you're fatigued, you're wore out, and you're having trouble. You have trouble. I mean, there's where Bandit is right now on a bike that is, I think they got up and running, but I think they're now just stopping they're stopping for gas. They're both stopped. But scary moments happen in a hurry. So, the sucky parts turn to shit, and it is, as Julie says here, very, very frustrating. But they do happen, and that is part of the ride. And those feelings are part of the ride, and that's why you live your life Hokahei style, and make sure that every day, Hydro and I were talking yesterday. Everybody, thinks they're going to die an old man in bed, and every guy or girl's thinking they're going to die old age in bed. It's just not reality. It's not how things work. And a lot of us will not die old men in bed. We'll die on a corner in Idaho. We'll die, on some remote road somewhere else, or we'll die doing something stupid in the backyard. Whatever that is, you better make things right and make sure that today is a good day to die. And if you live your life like that, I think you're much better off as a person. And you never know. And when you're done, nobody says, "Oh shit, I wish I would have had one more chance to talk to them or do whatever," and because there's so much shit that's left unsaid. So, try to make it right. But if somebody's out there, send them a message. That's basically what I'm getting at, is send them a message, tell them you love them, but keep it short or put it in a voice, where you're sending a recording of you so they don't have to read it. Because they're tired, they're frustrated, they're wore out, they're pulling into a gas station, they don't want to deal with, having to read a story. As heartfelt as it is, it's not what they need. They're tired and they just want they want a virtual hug, but they don't want a story that's going to distract them from what they're doing, and you also don't want to be the cause of their shit. You want to help them through the suck, but not make a shit. So that's a fact. No day is promised. Say what needs to be said and live with no regrets. And it's really what Hokahei means and what it's all about. So with that, I have to get out of here because in 15 minutes I am doing a meet and greet around the corner at a booth at Legend. So if you are out at the rally, you're out at exit 55 heading to Black Hills Harley, be sure to stop in at the Legend booth. They're super, super nice people. They have been a supporter of myself and since long before Mile Monsters were Mile Monsters. They got behind what we do for these kids before we had a army of people like this. When it was just a lonely guy on the highway with an idea, they were there right then. And I will forever be grateful to them for that. They've stood by Riot's side through good, bad, and ugly, and really helped us out. And I think it's super nice that I can give back a little bit, talk about their product, talk about how you can help, other riders, maybe save their life. I don't use a suspension to get a cushy ride. I use it so in an emergency I can slam on my brakes and have a chance to survive the oh shit moments. And I tell people, get a suspension. I am a firm believer in Legend suspension. There are several out there. If you're down somewhere and you wanna check out Olin and you want to get with Carol, then that's fine. I'm more interested in people living and surviving their oh shit moments that I am about like trash talking or making up shit about some other product. There's a lot of things that work, and if you're improving your whatever you have over stock, you're giving your chance to survive those oh shit moments a lot better. And if people have not used them, that is the why. That is the difference is amazing. And if you never use them, you'll never know. But in that moment where you have 2 seconds left to live or die, and you have them on and it saves you, there's no amount of money that's not worth it. So I think that's pretty amazing, and I think it's well worth the money, whatever it costs to protect you. So with that, I am out of here. I wish all these riders the best of luck. Stay safe. Enjoy this ride. It's coming to an end. There's going to be people that bail out like crazy. Don't judge. Understand they have to get somewhere for work. They have to be home to their families, and that's that. So there's some worldly advice too. Make sure you're texting before you hit send. That's kind of good. And my wife appreciates that suspension I'm riding too. She likes it when I dial it down. When she's not on, I dial it up. When she's on, I dial it down, make it a little more cushy. When I like it a little stiffer, because you go into corners and you can handle it. But we can do another video. There is a video on our YouTube channel about suspension, so if you want to know what that's like, go watch that. But with that, I am out of here. This place is busy. I thank Hydro out here for talking to people all day, spreading awareness. Man, he is a behind the scenes kind of guy, a great dude, and we're super happy to have him here. He's been a great help, really epic showing for him to stay out here all week and help me do this, so I'm not overrun with the day-to-day stuff. So I'm out of here. Tune in. I'm gonna do a special live over there, maybe in a couple hours at Legends booth. It'll be just real quick, and just giving a shout out to them and a big thank you. So with that, I am out of here. The Mile Monsters out there giving it their all on the course. A special shout out to you. I got a lot of love and respect for each and every one of you. Thank you for doing what you do. Peace.